Hello, welcome back. So in this video I'm just going to continue on from the part 1 video. Again, in the part 1 I gave you an overall sense of the dashboard that you first enter into, and then we began discussing the process of creating an assignment. And that's really where I want to take over here. I mentioned that there's sort of three things that you're going to do for sure, and then some other things that you can play with. So let's focus on those three things first of all. The first things you do is literally define when you want each phase of the assignment to occur. And so literally, it usually starts with today's date. You can literally just click on this and pick any date that you wish for the assignment to begin, and you can similarly pick a time. Now you can do that both for the beginning of the phase and also for the ending of the phase. Okay, so that literally you're now just defining the flow of how things are going to happen, when these phases are going to open and close for students. A couple of things to think about when you're doing this. You may choose to have temporal gaps between this. So you could have this stop, sure, at February 23rd, 11:59 p.m., but then you might not start it again until February 25th, and you might choose to have the 24th as a day when you kind of look and see how everything's happened in the create phase. And maybe you want to email some students who haven't submitted their assignment yet. You can allow them to submit late. But for example, you can do things like that. So you can either just have, as soon as this closes, the next phase opens, or you can put gaps in between, and this allows you to specify that very precisely. We do also have these two options about late submission. And the idea here is, yeah, this officially closes at the date you say, but you can, and if you want it to officially close, you can flip this allow late submission to off, and it will. But you can also leave it as on, and if you do that, then students still will be able to submit late. And in fact, some students could be submitting while others are assessing, and the system takes care of all that. It won't let any student assess until they have submitted. But literally, you could have different students doing that at the same time. Note that when they do submit late, their submission will be flagged, and when you get to the point where you're assessing the work, you will be able to see that it was submitted late. So if you want to actually attach a penalty to that or something of that sort, you can do that when you're grading. But this just really specifies whether you want to allow it at all. And you can do the same thing with the reflect and revise phase. You can allow a late submission there. Okay, but essentially this is just specifying those dates. Now, once you do that, the next step is to actually specify what the assignment is. And so here's where you just tell students in a very general overview sense what it is you want them to do. So the big picture of the assignment. And you just literally, would type in here this assignment, and if you want, you can include pictures or videos or sound to go along with it. For example, if we were going to include a picture, we could, let me look at my desktop here, I think I have one. Small Cognito picture there, but we could include that in that. So now when students see this, they will see literally whatever you type here along with anything else that you choose to attach to this overall assignment. You can also attach a graphic organizer and a rubric. You can actually even define your own rubrics if you want. You have to create them in something like Word and then save them, typically as a PDF, and then you can load them in. But we're going to have a set of rubrics there too, so if you just click on it, you can actually select a graphic organizer you might want your students to use and a rubric. And now these three things, by the way, your overall description of the assignment, the graphic organizer, and the rubric, they will be continually available to students throughout the phase, throughout all of the phases of a Cognito assignment. So this is really your chance of having something there to guide students throughout the assignment. In contrast to what you'll do next, instructions and tips, in this section you would add instructions and tips that are much more specific to each phase. So, for example, Here you might say for the create, in this phase, what I want you to do is to watch the video that I included here, and I want you to comment on the views expressed and take a position yourself, for example, and argue that position efficiently with as much backing as you can give. And so here you can really literally describe what you want them to do in this phase. Whereas here in the assess phase, now you might have instructions that say, when you go in the next step, you're going to see some of the compositions submitted by your peers. I would like you to read each composition through, decide which one you think is better than which and why, and then capture that feeling in terms of a rating and maybe a positive comment and a constructive comment. So you can literally, again, lay out here exactly what you want students to do when they're in this phase, and again, similarly on the reflect phase, here you would put in exactly what you want them to see in the reflect phase. Okay. In many cases, that can be all you really have to do. Specify the dates, specify the overall assignment, and then give phase-specific instructions and tips, as we've just described. But there's a lot of other things you can choose to do as well, because they require a little bit of description, I'm actually going to keep this video really short and just leave it here. Other than to say the following, I guess. Once you have done these things, then you can save your assignment at any point. If you want to save it into your library, you can add a description that goes along with the library. And then when you're all done, you just say save. Okay? And that assignment will be saved. And in fact, actually, if we go back, here you will see that we have this assignment called example that's here and saved. Okay? So that's the critical steps that you have to do, but if you want to find out some of the other things that you can do, come back for part 3. Alrighty, see you there.